The death of Sal Mineo in 1976 was a shock that sent shivers through the film world. Yet what people knew was merely the tip of the iceberg. Behind that sensational case lay countless secrets and misunderstandings about both the victim and the perpetrator. Was Sal Mineo's death truly as straightforward as the press reported? Now finally the truth is coming to light in the most unexpected way. Join us as we uncover this secret truth. Rising to stardom. Sal Mineo, full name Salvatore Mineo Jr., was born in January 1939 in the bustling Bronx borough of New York into an immigrant family of Sicilian descent. From a young age, Sal displayed innate artistic talent and a strong desire to be on stage. To escape the harsh and somewhat violent environment of his neighborhood, Sal turned to an art school. It was here that his talent was honed. At the age of 10, Sal landed his first stage role in Tennessee Williams's play, The Rose Tattoo, starring alongside legendary actress Maureen Stapleton. This was a crucial stepping stone opening the door to Broadway, where he quickly impressed audiences and critics alike. The biggest turning point in Sal Mineo's career came in 1955 when he was cast as John Plato Crawford, a sensitive and lost teenager in the classic film Rebel Without a Cause. His haunting performance alongside the legendary James Dean propelled Sal to A-list star status overnight. This role not only earned him an Oscar nomination at 17, making him the youngest male actor ever nominated at the time, but also turned him into a sought-after teen idol. Millions of young girls across America admired his handsome looks, sad eyes, and outstanding talent. He became an icon of the rebellious lost youth generation after the war. However, fame also came with unimaginable pressures. Sal was typecast into the image of a rebellious, troubled kid, making it difficult for him to break free and try more diverse roles. He consistently appeared in films with similar themes, although he sometimes still showcased superior acting ability, as in Somebody Up There Likes Me, 1956, or his role as Dove Landau in Exodus 1960, which earned him his second Oscar nomination. Behind the spotlights and the cheers of fans was a Sal Mineo who had to face the harsh realities of Hollywood. The film industry at the time was unforgiving to those who wished to deviate from their established image. As a young star, Sal was tightly controlled by the studios from his public persona to his private life. Binding contracts, packed filming schedules, and the pressure to maintain his image turned his life into a relentless cycle. At the same time, his peak career also made Sal a target for those who sought to exploit him. He was financially and emotionally exploited. The enormous income he generated for studios and management did not correspond to what he received. He was hailed as a phenomenon, yet simultaneously isolated by his own success, constantly living under immense scrutiny and expectations. These early challenges laid the groundwork for the deeper personal struggles that Sal Mineo would face throughout his life. Sal Mineo's personal struggles and identity. Despite reaching the pinnacle of fame at a very young age, Sal Mineo's inner life was a series of painful struggles. Most notably, he had to conceal his homosexuality in a highly conservative Hollywood and society of the 1950s and 60s. This was a period when homosexuality was considered a pathology, a sin, and could completely destroy an openly gay star's career. The pressure to maintain the image of a teen heartthrob or charming bad boy weighed heavily on Mineo, forcing him to live a double life. Sal Mineo recognized his sexual orientation early in his teenage years. However, with the scrutinizing eyes of the public and the strict control of studios coming out, was unimaginable. Star contracts included stringent morality clauses, and any rumors about unconventional private lives could lead to contract termination and career ruin. Therefore, Sal had to play the role of a perfect heterosexual man dating famous actresses like Jill Hayworth and Susan Strasberg to deflect public suspicion. This deceptive life caused profound isolation for Sal. He couldn't be true to himself, unable to share his innermost feelings with anyone, even his closest confidants. This secrecy corroded his spirit, leading to feelings of alienation and loneliness, despite being constantly surrounded by fans. The fear of being discovered was ever present, turning every personal interaction into a performance. Hollywood, though glamorous, was an environment rife with subtle discrimination against individuals who didn't fit the mold. Studios not only demanded that actors conceal their sexual orientation, but also could leverage this information to control them. There are stories that producers and directors exploited the vulnerability of young gay actors, creating an environment full of risks and exploitation. While there's no specific evidence of Mineo being directly sexually exploited by producers, the industry's pervasive pressure contributed to his feeling constantly vulnerable. Being typecast into troubled bad boy roles was also a burden. While these roles brought him fame, they didn't allow him to fully express his diverse acting talents. The pressure to constantly prove himself in repetitive roles, coupled with his internal struggle over his identity, made Mineo's career challenging as he matured and no longer fit the teen idol image. Despite being besieged by these pressures, Sal Mineo still sought authentic and meaningful relationships. He had close friends whom he could partially trust. Later, he found love and stability in his relationship with actor Courtney Burr III, with whom he lived until his death. This relationship, though kept secret from the outside world, provided Sal with invaluable comfort and emotional support. It allowed him to be himself, at least in his private space, and to feel the acceptance he had longed for. However, even after finding love, the specter of discrimination and the fear of exposure continued to haunt Sal. He constantly faced the risk of being outed and watching his career crumble. This created immense psychological pressure, contributing to the difficulties he experienced in his personal life and potentially affecting his mental health in ways we can only speculate. Sal Mineo's story is a profound reminder of the cost of intolerance and the heavy burden of living an inauthentic life. The decline of Sal Mineo's career. After his golden era of idol roles and Oscar nominations, Sal Mineo's film career began to experience a significant decline. The period from the mid-1960s onward was a harsh test for him as Hollywood's tastes shifted, and his rebel without a cause image gradually became outdated. As a talented young actor, Sal Mineo achieved immense success with his roles as Plato in Rebel Without a Cause and Dove Landau in Exodus. However, this very success inadvertently became a constraint. He was typecast by casting directors into roles of troubled, sensitive, or different teenagers. As Sal matured, breaking free from these images to take on more complex, strong leading roles became extremely difficult. His small stature and baby face, which were advantages when he was young, now became barriers that prevented him from being considered for adult male leads. He still received supporting roles in major films like The Longest Day, 1962, and The Greatest Story Ever Told, 1965, but they weren't enough to propel him back to leading star status. At one point, he even appeared in strange or masked roles such as a chimpanzee in Escape from the Planet of the Apes, 1971, indicating his desperation to find work. Facing indifference from Hollywood, Sal Mineo did not give up. He began to seek new avenues to express his burning artistic passion. The stage became his refuge and playground. Sal returned to Broadway and local theaters, where he could challenge himself with more diverse roles, stepping out of the shadow of his former teen idol persona. Not content with just acting, Sal Mineo also ventured into directing. In 1967, he directed John Herbert's controversial play Fortune and Men's Eyes, which explored the highly sensitive topic of homosexuality in prison. Sal, a widely known star openly directing such a bold work, was considered a groundbreaking and courageous move. The play garnered critical acclaim, showcasing another facet of Mineo's talent, his leadership abilities, and artistic vision. He continued to direct stage productions and participated in various television projects. Despite his commendable efforts, Sal Mineo's career still faced significant financial challenges. His peak years were behind him, and maintaining a Hollywood lifestyle with unstable work was far from easy. He accepted numerous guest roles in popular television shows of the time, such as Hawaii 5-0, Columbo, and Eswate, to make a living, although these didn't bring him the same level of renown as his early days. Sal Mineo never gave up on finding a truly breakthrough project. He yearned for a role that could re-establish his status, freeing him from the image associated with his youth. In his later years, he realized that his more mature appearance could open new opportunities no longer limited by his boyish image. He once shared his weariness of waiting and feeling that Hollywood still only saw him through his old roles. In early 1976, it seemed all of Sal Mineo's efforts began to pay off. He was achieving great success with the play P.S. Your Cat is Dead, in which he played a bisexual burglar. The play had received critical acclaim in San Francisco and was preparing to transfer to Los Angeles, carrying the hope of a strong comeback. Sal Mineo was at a promising juncture as his career seemed to be on the verge of resurgence, redefining himself, not just as an actor, but as a more versatile, courageous, and authentic artist than ever before. It was at this moment of blossoming hope that tragedy struck. The Tragic Assassination. On the night of February 12, 1976, a horrific tragedy struck the budding resurgence of Sal Mineo's life. Around 9:40 p.m., after returning from a successful performance of the play P.S. Your Cat is Dead, Sal parked his car in the shared parking lot of his West Hollywood apartment complex. As he stepped out of his car, a shadow awaited. Sal Mineo was viciously attacked and stabbed a fatal blow to the heart. His cries for help caused a neighbor to look out their window, witnessing the horrifying scene and the assailant fleeing. When police arrived, Sal Mineo was pronounced dead at the scene. The death of a famous Hollywood star, especially in such a violent manner, immediately became breaking news worldwide. However, instead of focusing on the heartbreaking loss, much of the media rushed to the sensational, even derogatory aspects. Because Sal Mineo lived in West Hollywood, an area with a large LGBTQ+ community, and due to his roles or rumors about his sexual orientation, some newspapers hastily linked the murder to his personal life, implying sinister motives or connections to the underworld. There were baseless speculations that the case might involve drugs or a secret failed homosexual relationship. These assertions were not only unfounded, but also victimized Sal Mineo, once again a victim of judgment and prejudice from the very people he had tried to conceal himself from for so long. The public was swayed by sensational headlines, making his death appear complex and suspicious in the public eye, rather than being seen as a random act of violence. It took a challenging investigation before the police gradually uncovered the truth. The neighbor who witnessed the crime provided a detailed description of the attacker. It wasn't until 1977 that police arrested Lionel Ray Williams, a 24-year-old pizza delivery man with a criminal record of robbery. Williams had been arrested for a series of other robberies and assaults in the same West Hollywood area. When questioned, he confessed to killing Sal Mineo. The surprising and tragic fact was that the motive for the crime was entirely impersonal. Williams claimed he didn't know who Sal Mineo was and had only chosen him randomly for a robbery. He saw Sal walking alone at night and thought he was an easy target. The stabbing was merely a brutal act intended for robbery. The court later confirmed that this was a failed robbery attempt that resulted in a random murder with no connection whatsoever to Sal Mineo's private life or sexual orientation. Lionel Ray Williams's conviction to life imprisonment in 1976 closed the legal case, but it could not erase the stains and misunderstandings that had been sown in the public consciousness. Although the truth was revealed that Sal Mineo was the victim of a random act of violence, The image and story of his death remained shrouded in false rumors for many years. This made Sal Mineo a victim in multiple senses. He was the victim of a brutal crime that took his life just as his career was on the verge of revival. But he was also a victim of societal judgment, of unfair prejudices that distorted his image even after his death. The case became an inseparable part of his legacy, but unfortunately, it was often recounted with inaccuracies, making his death more complicated than necessary. It overshadowed his talents, his personal struggles, and his desire to live authentically as a star who had endured too much pressure from the world around him. The tragic death of Sal Mineo brought an end to a talented yet tumultuous life. However, with the passage of time, there has been a profound re-evaluation of his life and career. The public and critics gradually came to see Sal Mineo not just through his sudden death or false rumors, but also through his artistic contributions and his persistent struggles. One of the most important aspects of redefining Sal Mineo's legacy is his role as an LGBTQ+ icon, whether unintentional or recognized posthumously. Although he couldn't openly express his sexual orientation during his lifetime, his personal struggle mirrored the reality for many in the LGBTQ+ community at that time. After his death, Sal Mineo's story became part of a larger conversation about acceptance, visibility, and the discrimination that gay individuals faced in Hollywood and society at large. His courageous decision to direct the play Fortune and Men's Eyes, which explored the theme of homosexuality in prison before his death, is seen as a pioneering act. It showed him to be not just an actor, but a visionary artist, willing to confront sensitive issues that needed to be discussed. His story has become a poignant example of the price paid when society refuses to accept diversity, and an inspiration for subsequent generations to continue fighting for equal rights. The story of Sal Mineo is a multi-layered tragedy extending beyond the horrific death on that February night in 1976. He was not only the victim of a random act of violence, but also a victim of his own era, a talented star trapped between dazzling fame and the darkness of societal prejudice. From the pressure to conceal his gay identity in a demanding Hollywood to being typecast and misunderstood after his death, Sal Mineo endured burdens that few could imagine. The revelation of these untold truths helps us view Sal Mineo through a more just lens. He was not only a talented actor with prestigious Oscar nominations, but also a courageous individual who strove to live authentically in a challenging environment. His struggle, though silent, contributed to the collective voice of the LGBTQ+ community and artists who yearned for their true worth to be recognized. Sal Mineo's legacy is a powerful reminder behind every fame, every sensational headline is a human being with complex stories, pains, and aspirations. Let us always seek the truth, overcome prejudice, and remember Sal Mineo not just for his tragedy, but for his talent, resilience, and the contributions he left to art and society.